Good afternoon. Today I want to share with you an approach that I've used with large corporations, with coaching clients, and also myself to achieve some pretty big goals and amazing results. And I hope that this is an approach that you'll be able to utilize on trying to achieve the 2030 sustainability goals. And my approach, my little secrets for your big success are aim high, start small, celebrate, and continue. And the first one of these is about aiming high. And a lot of times when I tell clients, we need to aim high, they say, I don't want to, I'm worried that we're not going to be successful. But there's two things to remember when we aim high. If you don't aim high, those who risk nothing will achieve nothing. And the second is that we can all do significantly more than we actually imagine possible. And I want to share a story that I think proves that in some way. In 2008, the world record for running a marathon day after day after day was 51. 51 marathons in 51 days. That's pretty impressive, yeah? 2012, a Spaniard, Ricardo Abad, he pulverized that record. He ran 607 marathons in 607 days. His goal was not 50, it was 500. And when he achieved the goal, he just kept on going and ran another 107 marathons. And he did this whilst working in a factory, 5 days a week on rotating shifts. 1 week days, 1 week afternoons, and 1 week evenings. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody rush out and sign up to run 608 marathons. But what I am saying is when you look at the scale of his achievement, the scale of that improvement from 50 to 607, you must admit that we can probably all do significantly more than we feel is actually possible. And I know from personal experience that that is true. And when we aim high, the importance of doing this is because big goals inspire us. Small goals don't really inspire anybody. And you might be thinking that, yeah, I'm a little bit afraid to aim too high. But Richard Branson says, if your goals don't scare you, then maybe they're too small. So it's okay to be a little bit afraid. Because it's the big goals, the bold goals, these are the ones that inspire us. We need to have a sense of achievement that when we've got that goal and we've accomplished it, we think, wow, that was amazing. That's what motivates people. And I think the most inspiring goal of all time was by John F. Kennedy, 1961 October, when he said, by the end of the decade, we will put a man on the moon and we will bring him back safely. This was a goal that inspired a generation. This was a goal that inspired a nation and possibly the world. And this is the power of big, bold goals. And you might be thinking, but if I aim too high, I might not know how I'm going to achieve it. Well, in 1961, John F. Kennedy had no clue how they were going to land on the moon by the end of the decade. How do I know this? Because the majority of technology needed did not exist. So he didn't know how he was going to achieve it, but he still set that big, bold goal. But what he did was, whilst the goal was aggressive, the timing wasn't. He gave himself enough time, and his team and America, enough time to find a way to achieve the goal. And this is what we need to do. And with the 2030 goals, we have 10 years to achieve it. And in 9 years, they put a man on the moon. So in 10 years, we should be able to achieve the 2030 goals. The first step to achieving the goals is to start making some progress. And surprisingly, starting is the thing that most people struggle with. They look at the goal and they think, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to start. Maybe I'm going to fail. They get filled with doubt. But where do these doubts come from? We all hear two voices. An internal voice, that little devil that sits on our shoulders that tells us we're not good enough, we're not fast enough, we're not smart enough. The second voice is external. It's the people around us who tell us, oh, you'll never achieve that, it's too hard, it will never happen in a million years. But these people, they're expressing their doubts, their fears. And we must not let our goals, our dreams, become trapped in the doubts of others. Now, the best way of starting is to find something small, something simple, something easy that you can do, and start with that. When I was 52, I decided I was going to run a marathon. And I told my two best friends, guys, I'm going to run a marathon. And they said, okay, maybe you're a little bit too fat, maybe you're a little bit too old, and maybe you're a little bit too unfit. And yeah, maybe I can't run 42 kilometers. But what I did was I found a plan where that first week, all I had to do was to run for 15 minutes. 15 minutes, the following day, I did that. I made that start. And when we make a start, quite often, we get a little bit of motivation and we will continue and keep going. And what we need to do is, we need to find something small that we can do in order to get beyond those doubts and put ourselves on the path to success. Now, a lot of time my clients will tell me, but I actually don't know where to start. I'm keen to do it, I believe it can be done, but I don't know where to start. And a good friend of mine, she told me that when she has to clean up after a big party, she always starts with the forks. Okay, thank you for this advice. I'm sure it will come in helpful. And I said, is there any reason why you start with the forks? Are the forks special, magical? She said, no. But what they do is they give me a point of departure. Something that I always start with. It gets me out of thinking, where do I start, into doing. And when we go from thinking to doing, we get out of analysis paralysis. And once we start doing, quite often the way to the goal will present itself once we are in action. So we need to find something small that we can do and then choose that and start with it. Because only when we start to take action will we put ourselves on the path to success. The second part of the goal is celebrate. And I cannot overemphasize the importance of celebration. Celebration it has an essential role in our goal achievement. And what we need to do is we need to start celebrating our early successes. Sometimes we need to start by celebrating just effort. And when I tell this to companies, they say, no, we don't do that. We wait until we've achieved the goal, then we celebrate. And I ask them, so how many big goals have you achieved recently? And whilst they're scratching their heads and saying, not very many, I am not surprised. And then I ask them this question: what did you do the first time your infant child took 2 paces and then dropped onto its bottom? And they said, well, we did what every parent does. We cheered, we applauded, we brought our relatives in. And I said, well, why would you do that? It's not like they've just run a marathon. It's not like they've broken the 100-meter Olympic record. And they tell me it's because they took their first steps. They started the journey. I want to encourage them to try again and again and again. Because when they continue to do that, then maybe one day they will learn to walk. And then one day they will learn to run, and maybe they'll run a marathon. That same principle applies for ourselves and our teams when we're setting goals. We need to celebrate those first steps, those first efforts, the early successes. Because recognition, self-esteem, these are fundamental needs that we all have, and the more we recognize people, the more we will encourage them to repeat their effort, and as they repeat it, they might start to become more successful. And what we do is we don't just keep celebrating the first two steps, we keep raising the bar for the recognition. Every time they do something, we raise the bar a little bit higher, and as you do that, people's performance will follow that bar until we achieve the goal. The last part of my approach is the simplest. It is continue. More often than not, sometimes we don't have to work any harder, we don't have to do things any better in order to be successful. Sometimes we just need to repeat the effort. When I tell people that I wrote 1,200 leadership articles in 4 years, people tell me, wow, how did you do that? I did one a day for 1,200 days. I didn't increase the effort, I just repeated what I did. Because more often than not, big successes are just an accumulation of small successes. Sometimes that act of repetition can actually improve our performance. The more we do things, the better we can become at it. There's a great example of that from Derek Sievers, where he talks about a pottery class. Half of it was told that their grade would be based on one pot. They had to make the best pot possible. The better the pot, the higher the score. The second group, they were told that they had to make as many pots as possible. The more pots they make, the higher the score. So one group is measured on quality, one group is measured on quality. At the end, which group do you think produced the best pots? Group number 2. Because as they produced pot after pot after pot, their technique improved. They learned by doing. And it's often these small improvements, this accumulation of small improvements that lead to big improvements that put us on the path to success. So my little secrets to help you achieve your 2030 goals are aim high, and we've already done that quite well with these goals. Start small. Find something that you can do that will get you beyond the doubt and get you into action. And for a lot of these goals, we need to tell people what they need to do. It's no good telling me, end world hunger. You have to tell me something small that I can do in order to help. And that way I can contribute. And when I start to see that improvement and I start to get some recognition for doing it, I will continue to do that. And continue is one of the greatest skills we can develop. As the previous speaker said, consistency. Because perseverance is a talent multiplier. Big successes are often the accumulation of a lot of small successes. So we need to aim high, start small, celebrate, and keep going. Shukran.
So I had just hung up the phone with my son studying for his master's, preparing his thesis, and he's so overwhelmed. He feels it's all so big. He's working in sustainability and he has this new business idea and he's writing a plan. And he said, it's too big, how can I start? I'm so afraid. Hang up with him, listen to Gordon with the tips about starting simple, starting small, celebrate, and all the great things that he said, and I just take it all and send it to my son. Amazing.
I am Abdel Hamid Khairi, ambassador of the University of Manchester in Egypt, alumni of the University of Manchester in Egypt. And I like the Gordon speech, I like his recipe, and I think everyone has to listen to him. He's influential, and I think more to listen to him, you will learn how to smile and be successful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just saw Gordon speak at the Narrative Summit here in 2019 in Cairo, and although it's not my first time to see Gordon, it's always such a pleasure to see someone really speak really authoritatively, really firmly, while still feeling that compassion and the compassionate way that he's explaining, trying to help people. Gordon is such a great speaker, such a great person so far, and is able to really deliver a lot of information in the most simplistic way possible that can really enable or empower or encourage people to really sort of take that first step. As he said in today's speech, you gotta aim high so that you can start really pushing forward and continuing for success.
So I've known Gordon now for a few years, and he never ceases to amaze me. Whether he is mentoring me on how to speak or speaking on stage himself, the amount of value that he provides is immeasurable. It's something that I truly appreciate and love about him, and his guidance has been so appreciated over the years.